everyone, welcome to Mammoth Interactive's course on a apple catcher game made in GameMaker. The objective of this game is you have just 10 seconds to collect as much apples as you can falling from the tree. Okay, so I got 14 points this time. However, I can try to get a bit better and keep trying, keep restarting the game until I get a better score. Okay, so this course is intended for beginners. There will be around 1 hour of lessons where you're going to learn how to make all these concepts work. So if you're if you just started making games, or if you want to learn how to program very quickly, or if you are just bored and you want to learn something new, this course will work just fine for you. My name is Glauco Pires. I've been working in the game industry since 2010. So I've made lots of games in different engines like Unity, Flash, HTML5, GameMaker, of course, Unreal Engine. So I have a lot of experience, and I would like to share that experience with you, explaining this game in different topics. So we're going to learn how input works, how collision works, how to make an interface, how to make a timer. We're going to see things step by step until you reach this game, and then you're ready to make things that are better and even publish a game to the store later. Okay, so if you don't have GameMaker yet, you can head over to the Yo-Yo Games website to download GameMaker Studio, and you also have to make an account there and activate a free license. But don't worry, there is no time trial for that. You won't be charged for downloading GameMaker. Just make an account, activate a free license, and download GameMaker Studio. Once you're done with this, we can learn how to set up a project and then start making this game. Okay? I hope you're excited to start this, and I see you in the next lesson. Hello there, welcome back. Now that you open GameMaker Studio and logged in to your account, you should see a few options available for you here at the top tab. You're going to select the New button, and then we should be able to create a new project. Every game is stored in a separate project, in a separate folder. So we have to go ahead and define what is the project directory. First of all, I like to define a projects folder for keeping my games in, because if you try to put your games in the desktop or the documents folder, it is going to mess with all your other pictures and document files, so this is not very good. So make a projects or a workspace folder. This will work fine. And for the project name, you should just put the name of your game in here. We're going to put Apple Catcher. And then we just hit create for GameMaker to open this handy interface here. Right, so we have a few options available for us. We have several things we can use. First of all, here at the top we have a toolbar with several buttons available. So we have the option to save the game, we can run the game, start a server, we can create sprites, images, backgrounds, paths. So there are several things just spread out here in this toolbar. But you can just worry about two things. Just pay attention that you have a little floppy disk here for saving your project, and you also have a green arrow. It's like a play button that runs your game so you can test it. So later on, when you're making more advanced games, you can also define the target platform your game is going to run at if you own better versions of GameMaker, not just the free one. Okay? So more important than this toolbar is what we have here in the left. Okay, we're going to be using these a lot. This window here is the hierarchy window, and what you do here is you are going to have several game elements available for you to use. So we have sprites, sounds, backgrounds, paths. We have lots of things here, and it works just like you are in your Windows computer, where you have your user folder, and inside the user folder you have documents, images, downloads. So it's nicely separated into these pre-made folders. I think this is something good about GameMaker. It forces you to follow this hierarchy, and then you start to care more about keeping things organized. So this is a nice thing to have. And we have different folders, but the ones that we're going to work the most are the sprites one. We're going to deal with objects as well, and we are also going to deal with rooms. Okay, these are the three most important ones. So let's take a look at them one by one. First of all, we have the sprites folder. Let's right click here and select create sprite. And let me maximize this window. So what is a sprite? A sprite is an image or an animation. Okay, it's a group of pixels that make a beautiful image of a beautiful character, or maybe an enemy, or a diamond which you have to collect. So sprites are visual representations of game elements. Okay, without sprites you wouldn't be able to see your most favorite 2D games. Okay, these are very important. And for the name of this sprite, we're going to call this one player. Okay, we're going to make the player that is going to be used in our game. However, it is a good practice in GameMaker to start a sprite by typing SPR underscore. And why is that? You might have noticed that SPR is an abbreviation of sprite. Okay, and this keeps your code organized. So if you have several elements that belong to a player, so if you have a player sprite, a player object, you have a player path maybe, all of these things are going to be differentiated by just the beginning of it. So it is easier to search for everything that is related to the player, and also you're not going to mix up and give bad names to certain elements that you create. So this is good practice in GameMaker. This also helps you when you are dealing with code. Okay, if you want to search all the objects available, you can start with obj underscore, and then the code is going to show you all the objects that you have in your game. All right, so let's go ahead and draw this player. We're going to click here on edit sprite, and we're going to see another window here. We're going to select this sheet of paper, which is create a new sprite, and we can set the size of the sprite that we're going to create. So the default size is 32 by 32 pixels, width and height, but let's use 64 by 64. We're going to make a player which is bigger than normal. Now we're just going to hit OK, and you're going to see a little square here. Notice that this is a checkerboard of gray squares of a darker and a lighter tone, but this just means that this image is transparent. Alright, and if you wanted to make an animation, if you want this sprite to be animated, you would have different a certain sequence of images here where the game internally would swap between them. So after some time they would change these sprites, would change these frames to reach the illusion of movement. Okay, this is how animation works in GameMaker, but we're going to use just one single image to keep things simple. Right, let's draw something. We're going to double click here, and we have another window. If you have ever used Paint or Photoshop, you should be familiar with these tools you have available here. But first of all, let's zoom in so we have a better notion of what we are going to draw here. And at the left of this little window, we have a few tools available for us. We have a pencil tool, we can draw lines as well, we can erase whatever we want, and we can make polygons too. We can use the polygon tool, we can make rectangles and ellipses or circles, and we can make rounded rectangles as well. So let's start by making a very simple smiley face. We're going to select the ellipse, and to draw an ellipse you can click on the top left and drag to the bottom right. So you can make a circle or an ellipse like this one. However, I want to make a smiley face, so I want it to be yellow. Okay, we could draw a little circle here and paint it, but we can do that also by choosing here in the color palette what is going to be the fill color of the polygon. So whenever you're drawing polygons or ellipses, rectangles, things that have an area, you can set the outline color, which is the left color, in this case it is black, and you can select the fill color, which in this case is right. Okay, and you can select these colors by left clicking or right clicking with your mouse, depending on what color you want to change. So we are simply going to right click on yellow, so we have the yellow color set here. Now I can go ahead and draw that circle once more. So let me click here at the top left and bring it down here. Okay, so we have a little smiley here. And let's make the eyes of this smiley. So I'm going to choose black as the fill color as well. So we draw the eyes like this. So we have one, then two eyes. Alright. And for drawing a mouth, I'm going to use the pen. So yeah, let's keep this simple. I'm just going to do it like this, a bit too much. Okay, I'm not good at drawing, so forgive me for that. Anyway, We have a mouth for our smiley here. And now let's make a fruit basket, because since we're going to collect apples, it is interesting to have a fruit basket here. So we're going to use this polygon tool. I'm going to use black as the outline color, and for the right, I'm going to this color picker here and choose brown. Okay, so it looks like this, right? So with the polygon tool, you can just click and drag, and it will look like you're making a line. However, if you click again and drag, then it starts to make a polygon. Okay, so it's going to look like this. And this should be fine for this polygon. And now let's just make some handles here. We can use the line tool for that. You can just give it a little bit more room like this. And then add some handles. Yeah. This should probably do it for this game, okay? So whenever you have more time, just make whatever feels better for you. So you can grab all these tools with care and draw whatever you want. Okay, so to save this image, to make sure this is properly saved, we need to go here at the top left and click on this green tick here to save the image, and let's click on it again for the sprite to be saved. Now, one thing that is very important, images in computers, they are drawn from the top left. Okay, so if you have a picture here of your dog, for example, I can't, of your cat. Okay, cats are easier to draw to me. So you have a cat here. So images of in computers, they are always drawn from the top left to the bottom right, and images are drawn pixel by pixel, okay, until it reaches the end of the image. So the origin of the image is commonly set to be here. So in GameMaker, if you want to set the origin of the image to the center, you have to explicitly do this. Okay, this is not going to be very used in this game. This won't make much of a difference, but still sometimes it is good to set the origin of the image to be the center if you want to make rotations. If you want to do that, you just click here on the center button and you'll see a cross in the middle of our player. Okay, so let's hit the OK button, and our sprite has been saved here. Okay, you can just double click to open it if you want to check it again. Let's just hit OK. Now, why did we make a sprite? Okay, sprites are images, just like I told you. But these images, by themselves, they can't just be added into the game and rotated. We can't apply physics. We can't overlap. So we can't make any complex logic with these sprites. The things that follow these complex logics are objects. So you have to create objects which contain sprites. The objects are the things that you're going to interact and give and make all the fun of the game. So we right click on objects, select create object. Let's maximize this window as well. We have several options here, but we're not going to look on all of them. And let's just set the name first. So this is going to be a player. However, we start with obj underscore player because we're making a player object. And a little below the name field, you're going to see a sprite field. So we can set the sprite of the player. We're going to click on this button and select spr underscore player. So you see, when you make an object, you assign a sprite to it to give it a look, to your object. And let's just hit OK now to save our object. There we go. And alright, now we have an object, but what if we want to put it in a place? Okay, we want to make a window and we want to run our game. How do we see our player? To do that, we need to make a room. Okay, and rooms, they have different names in different game engines. Rooms can be scenes, can be states, levels, or maps, but I think the easiest name to remember is screen. Okay, it's like a separate moment in the game where you're going to make a certain logic. So for example, if you are in a menu screen where you have the play button, you have the settings button, you have the help button. This is a room, okay? This is a place where you are essentially going to move to another room, for example. Now, if you are in a game where you have a player, you have a tree, you have apples falling, then you are in a room, okay? You are in a game room. So let's go ahead and make that room. We're going to right click here, select create room. Let's maximize this window. The name of this room is going to be rm underscore game. As for the size of the room, you can leave this one here, but I'm going to use 800 pixels of width by 640 pixels of height. Okay, just so it fits on the screen. And the speed is how fast your game is processed by the computer or the smartphone, whatever your game is running. I like to put 60 here, so this is as smooth as possible, but you have to be careful with performance. This game can't be too intensive, too processing intensive, otherwise it is going to lag and it's going to give a bad experience to the player. Sometimes it is wise to keep 30 or even something lower, like 200, like 24 for example. Let's use 60. Okay, so to add a player here, we can just go to the Objects tab where we have our player. If you had different objects, you'd have to personally choose it. You have to manually choose the object that you want. Right now we just have the player, but if we had more than one object, you'd have to click on this button and click on Object Player, obj_player. Okay, and to add a player, we're just going to click here, anywhere in our room. Okay, so we have our player here. And to test this out, it is very simple. We just click on Run the Game. After that, GameMaker is going to save your project and compile any code it contains and process all the assets until you see this. Okay, so this is the first compilation of your game. You have an empty room with a gray color here, and you have a smiley face here just looking at you, waiting for it to move. Okay, so this should be it for this lesson. Right now we have a very dull background. So in the next video we're going to learn how to make a simple background for our game and then proceed with other things like movement and adding apples to the game. Okay? See you in the next video. You can easily change the appearance of the background color by just going to the Backgrounds tab, and if you want to change the color you can just click here and select something like this tone of blue, for example, like it is the sky, so it looks like this. But what if you want to draw something else, like maybe the ground here and a tree in the middle? To do that we have to go to the Backgrounds folder here. Let's right click and select Create Background. Okay, we're going to name this BKJ underscore, and let's name this, let's see, scenery. Okay, and now if you had an image of scenery that you want to use, you can just click here on Load Background, but as we're going to draw things, we're just going to click Edit Background. Okay, and you're going to be taken straight to this editor. Now you notice that the size of this image here is 64 by 64 pixels. So we have to make it a little bit bigger, actually a lot bigger, for it to fill the entire room. So I'm going to go to Transform and I'm going to select Resize Canvas. Okay, so we can set the new size of this image. There's this keep aspect ratio option, but we're going to disable it. This won't make a difference since we have an empty image here, and I'm going to manually set the size here to be 800 pixels of width by 640 pixels of height, and then I press OK. The image size is properly set, so I can zoom out a little bit here. Now to make this screen, okay, to make this background, let's start by drawing a floor. So I'm going to select a dark gray to work as the grass. So let's start it from here. Okay, actually the color that is taken is the fill one. Okay, let's click there. Okay, it should work. So I'm going to start drawing from here, and there we go, we have a little grass field. If you want, you can take the pencil tool and maybe draw a little bit of grass like this. Okay, like there are some things coming out of the floor. Okay, so it gives a better visual here. Okay, so yeah, it should be enough. Just stick that last one. All right, so if you want to draw a tree, we can start by selecting this rectangle, and let's select with the right mouse click a certain tone of brown, like this one. This one should work fine, and we can click here in the middle of the scene and make it like this. You notice that you have some shape options here, because right now, as we drew this tree, the body of the tree, it contains a green outline. Okay, so we could choose to select another tone of brown so it doesn't look like this, but we can also select a shape option here. Since we have the rectangle marked here, we can select that rectangle to be just the outline and filled, or we can choose filled only, and there will be no outline 0 when we draw it. So let's try that again. Make sure filled only is selected, and then we click and drag, and also let's select the left color in this case to be brown. Okay, so we click and drag, and there we go. We have a tree body here. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Alright, and now for making the leaves of the tree, you can use a little trick. We can select the ellipse here. Make sure we have this filled only selected as well. Let's select a nice tone of gray, a bit darker than the grass, and we can just click around and make a tree, okay, like this one. So we use very simple tools, very simple techniques here to make things like a grass and a tree and the tree leaves. Okay, so it's up to you to make this tree as you want. Okay, make it as big as you want. So it is interesting to make it a little bigger than usual, just so you have more room for the player to move. Okay, because if you make a small tree, then there will be a very small range where apples could fall from. Okay, so the bigger the tree, the better. So make sure you add a nice amount of leaves here. Okay, so it looks like that. And if it looks weird that you have so much leaves in a short body of the tree, you can just once again get a rectangle tool and select that tone of gray and make it a bit bigger. Okay, just make it like this maybe, and then use another add more leaves there. Okay, so let me choose this one, and yeah, it should work fine. Okay, so this is how you make a very simple background. Let's click on this tick here to save our tree, and let's select OK to make sure everything is saved. And now to load the tree, we need to go to the room we created, and in the backgrounds tab where we have background 0, you can select an image here. So you're going to click here where it chooses the foreground image, and you're going to select the background scenery. Okay, so it looks like this. Right, and it would be a good idea to move our player maybe down here. Okay, so actually here in the left, so it starts in this position. And if we hit the play button, we should be able to see our player, and there's a little scenery here where we can move around later. Okay, so there we go. This is the window we have right now. We have a tree trunk, a few grasses coming out of the floor, and we have our player. So what we're going to do in the next video is make this player move. We want the player to move from the left to the right and vice versa, to the right and to the left, if we press the arrow keys. Okay, see you soon.